What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and depending on when you're seeing this, potentially Happy Thanksgiving if you're in an area that celebrates, American Thanksgiving. If not otherwise, happy free adventure from Wizards of the Coast. If we head over to their Twitter account, they posted this a couple days ago. Gathering with friends and family is a perfect time to learn to play D&D, right? Potentially this could be an opportunity for you to introduce D&D to your family and friends. Download this free adventure now, and it'll walk you through your first time as either a player or a dungeon master. It's called Peril in Pinebrook. Excuse me. I clicked this link and it just took me right to a download for it. I actually don't know if it's available in other places, but either way, I'll put a link in the video description to it if you'd like to check it out. It is a 22-page adventure. I guess potentially spoiler alert if you haven't played this or are looking to run it or play it, but it's not a very long adventure, right? We said it's only 22 pages. It's also designed to be completed in 60 to 90 minutes, which I do feel is a reasonable amount of time to sit down and play a game with somebody if they've never understood the game. You're obviously going to have that little bit of slowdown and clunk as you kind of learn to understand the game itself, but 60 to 90 minutes of actual gameplay is a reasonable amount of time to get people to sit there and play. Now, who knows, they may want to extend it longer, but you don't want to oversaturate people right out the gate. So it says it's an introductory D&D adventure, contains 4 ready-to-play characters as well, so you don't even have to worry about character design if you don't want to. Again, probably not a bad idea if you're handing this to somebody for the first time. Suggested number of participants is a DM and 4 players, but instructions have been described how to run it with fewer players. If you have more, you're going to need to make more characters, right? It talks about the basics, the adventure, the rules, the tools you're going to need, right? 1 20-sided die and at least 1 6-sided die. It speeds up game if each player has their own, but players can share. And then obviously there's digital dice rollers. It talks about the character sheets, and then again, should be set for 60 to 90 minutes. It's fine to take breaks. The play experience can be made longer if desired, allowing time for people to roleplay their characters and talk with each other should be, encouraged. It's part of what makes D&D D&D. All right, so it says character actions, and it really is walking you through the mechanics. So for those of us who are veterans, you may be able to skip the first handful of pages, right? Actions, D20, armor class damage, DCs, advantage, disadvantage, talking about all that, hit points. Then on page 4 here, we start actually talking about the adventure. And some of this might be worth just re-reviewing if you haven't run a game in a while, or even if you have, right? So it says they're divided up into encounters, game flow, right? A D&D sessions begin with the DM and the other players having a conversation. The DM asks the most important question in their DM toolbox: what do you do? At this point, players should explain what they want their characters to do, and the DM kind of adjudicates that. And then it goes on to say, when the action is somewhere between easy and impossible, trying to do it could lead to either success or failure. That's when a D20 roll is used. And it's driving that home, right? You don't force people to make rolls for minute tasks with no chance of failure, or things that shouldn't be, right? I've had a game, I've talked about it before, where a DM literally made a player roll a perception check to find, a wizard no less, to find their spell book in their own backpack. And it wasn't like make a perception check because it was stolen from that wizard. It was in their backpack, and the DM made them roll a perception check to find it, and they failed the arbitrary DC and couldn't find their own spellbook in their own backpack. And it wasn't even like that was like a funny ha-ha thing to do, or they were beset by some sort of befuddlement, confusion thing, or the spellbook was disguised as another book from an enemy spellcaster. No, they just opened up their backpack, couldn't find their spellbook, and were like, well, guess I don't have it. Until later, they succeeded the arbitrary perception check, and were like, oh, there it is, it was there the whole time. That's ridiculous, but it's worth being said that sometimes people need to know when to rein things back in, and you don't need to roll for everything. Right? Then it talks about narrating success and failure, how to go about that, and then a couple of tips for the DM, right? Rule 0, have fun, be supportive, use yes and or no but, kind of, improv style things, use your imagination. The NPCs are yours, whether you want to give them, unique voices or take them on their own trail away from what the adventure says, that's up to you. Coming up with alternatives so there's not a hard and fast way like, oh, nope, you can't do that, and then it's just you're stymied forever. And then also, most importantly, listen to the players. And then we kind of roll on page 5 into the actual adventure itself. And it's going to show you a little bit about how things are broken down. If you're a player, stop reading the rest of the documents for the DM. We obviously have a lot of blue text here. This is box text, things that you are going to read. They even have little things for the DM box text that literally says, we're going to play a short game of Dungeons and Dragons. These character sheets have information about your characters on them. You each have one character to play. And then, like, literally write your name in the space where it says player name, like going through this, talking about attacks, skills, equipment, walking you through all of that, explaining how the D20 works. And then we actually roll into the adventure proper, on page 6, starting the adventure. We have our box text. And I like that it actually has timing on the encounters, which is pretty nice to have, right? Estimated time to play this encounter, 10 minutes, right? And we have a little bit of box text. We're getting into dragon-related stuff very early on, which is pretty cool. So this whole section here, all about role-playing. Let's talk about characters. Let's get the people invested. We have these bulleted questions here. What's your character's name or nickname? This is not formatted to really be zoomed in too much, but what do they look like? What do they sound like? What are they good at doing? What do they carry as they patrol the forest? Stuff like that, right? Get people invested in their characters, figure out who they are, right? It's a pre-generated character sheet, but they can still make the character their own. Then we roll into encounter number 1, again listed here as 10 minutes, a not-so-fearsome dragon. Now, I'm not going to go through this in its entirety because it would just kind of defeat the purpose. And as somebody who's been playing for a long time, if I get enough comments that people want me to literally go through this page by page, read through everything, talk about it in its entirety in that way, I will absolutely do so. But I'm just going to kind of cursory glance through this. But so far, I'm liking a lot of what I'm seeing here as far as like what it's encouraging DMs to do, what it's encouraging players to do. This is very good if you're trying to get people into D&D. And again, it seems like they're trying to capitalize on the timing of Thanksgiving, right? And honestly, I've done this in the past. The first time I ran a D&D game for my mother and my uncle, well, and the first time I ran it for my cousin as well, we were all together for Thanksgiving. My cousin loved playing D&D in college and hadn't had a chance to really play in a while. And I'm like, we're all sitting around here hanging out anyway. Why don't we grab some dice and roll up some characters and have some fun? So my wife jumped in and my sister jumped in and I ran a game for my family. And we've continued that family game every holiday that we're together since that Thanksgiving, however many years ago that was. And it's a continuation of that story, which is pretty cool. And I very much enjoy that. And it's all because we were all together. And like, had we had a little intro adventure like this, I probably would have ran it. At the time, it was Lost Mines of Phandelver, which is also a great intro adventure. Now continued and contained within Phandelver and the Shattered Obelisk, but either way. Right? So we're moving through. They even talk about the Practically Complete Guide of Dragons, which is a book you can get. Another kind of sort of non-adventure book. I have it here. I should do a video on that at some point as well. We move forward to Living Icicles, which is where it looks like we're getting into our first combat. Look at the stat block for the Living Icicles. They have 3 things: 1 attack, hit points, and an armor class. Nice and simple, succinct things. And now you have an opportunity as a potential brand new DM to run a combat. And with like simple stuff, easy to maintain. You're not looking through a bunch of stat blocks, flipping through your monster manual, having to figure out all these different things. It's very simple. They have a claw attack. They have 7 hit points. Go. Right? Encourage people to descriptive combat, stuff like that. They've succeeded, and now you're going to search the area. Maybe you find some treasure. Maybe you need to do some healing. Talk about what just happened. Moving the adventure forward. It's awesome, adorable art of a white wormling, which is great as well. Then we get to a dangerous lair. This encounter is 15 minutes. Okay? Talks a little bit about using climbing kits and other stuff to overcome certain aspects here, right? Climbing the icy walls. Magical Ice Mirr. We got a little bit of physical skill challenge. We got a little bit of possibly roleplay puzzle encounter related stuff. Navigating the ice slides. This reminds me just the name alone of like all the Pokemon games where you'd have to like bink, 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 bink around icy gyms to get to the gym leader. All right, then we get to Dragon Eggs and Soaring Silver here, encounter number 4. Again, we have egg snatchers, some bad guys here, right? Ice trolls, I guess, or trained by ice trolls. Simple little stat blocks again. They have a bite attack, hit points, armor class. We're moving on. I don't know if people level up in the course of this, but I'd be curious about that. Then we get into our conclusion here, right? We got some questions. We got stuff here about a dragon. Some of the eggs are going to hatch at the end. What are we going to deal with that? All right, then we have the reward. We have some treasure. And then again, people can store this and then move on, and maybe you continue on, right? We have an appendix here, which is all of these common words in Draconic. I don't even know if we have this anywhere else. So this is fantastic. If you want official 5e Draconic pronunciation, or at least Draconic translations for common or you know, a language here, right? Sfern means above. Pothok means foolish. A lot of interesting stuff you could do with this. Then we have our credits here. Sean Merwin and Dan Dillon, both behind this. Fantastic people, are amazing at designing adventures. A little bit of cool art here of a dragon. It says again, here's the practically complete guide to dragons. And then here are, oh, look at the character sheets. Oh man, they're cute little like half sheets. This is fantastic, right? Your attacks are very simple. This is a nice parsed down character sheet. Just your relevant skills, and then even descriptions, right? Check one liner, write in your own. How does your character act? If you are the character Shalefire Stoutheart, who looks to be a dwarf fighter here, grumpy or enthusiastic, unkempt or well-dressed, long hair or bald, proud or humble, made in your own, or check one of those, pick an option, and then you can help customize your character, right? We have Nora Eldenfield, the halfling rogue, or Nura. We have Galantine Birkenbow, the elven wizard, and then Evedon Hart, the human cleric. We even have a player reference sheet. This is really well done for being free. Also the art, loving the art here. And then again, even a little bit of tips for being a good player here. I gotta say, this is pretty cool to see from Wizards of the Coast. Again, giving people an opportunity to capitalize and get people into D&D here on like a family what is often a family holiday, especially if you're here in America. These next couple of days, and a lot of people have off, so they'll be spending time together. You could maybe carve out 60 to 90 minutes to play through an adventure. Could be pretty fun. I don't know. If you guys are curious more about this, want me to dive into it more than I already did, let me know. I might even try to run it with my boys. The parse down character sheets make things a lot easier as well. So let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I'll see you all next time.